What's happening, y'all? Suxy here, and today I've got a Solar 3.0 Titan build that is super explosive and incredibly fun to use in Destiny 2. Before we get into the build though, I just want to give a massive thank you to everyone who tuned into the Solar Hunter build that I released. I have another one coming up, so make sure you subscribe and give the bell a little boink so you don't miss it. I appreciate y'all. Let's get into it. For my primary slot, I'm just using this Austringer hand cannon here. You can use whatever you'd like at the primary slot. It does not matter whatsoever. For me personally, I just like hand cannons, so the Austringer is my go-to. For my secondary slot, I am running an explosive personality grenade launcher with Turnabout. I use this so I can get the overshield when I break the shield of a combatant, and I'm also using it for the land tank trait to make myself tankier. This does stack on top of 100 resilience to give you more damage resistance. So that's pretty useful. You can use whatever you'd like in this slot as well. I use it because it's solar and we get Font of Might bonuses for solar, so definitely up to you, but I recommend a solar weapon. Of course, if you're playing any match game activities, then you'd adjust your weapon's element based off of what's in the activity, but if you're playing just regularly, any solar weapon will do here. For your heavy slot, I recommend a solar heavy. I'm using Xenophage here, but you can also use Lament, Galahorn, Ascendancy if you don't want to use an exotic or have an exotic in a different slot. But for me, I just use Xenophage because I haven't used it in a while, and it was hitting like a truck with the bonuses stacked up. So as long as you're utilizing Font of Might with your heavy, then you're going to get a lot of DPS out of that. And moving on to our helmet, we have a Max Resilience mod, Sword Ammo Finder. Because I was using Lament before, this should be changed up to whatever heavy weapon you're using or whatever special weapon you're using. We also have Harmonic Siphon, so that way our solar weapons will generate our orbs of power, getting us our super nice and quick. And an important mod for this build is Explosive Wellmaker, because we are going to be causing a lot of explosions with Consecration, as well as our heavy weapon and our explosive personality. It's going to be just spawning elemental wells everywhere. Moving on to my arms, I have a Discipline mod. These two slots are empty because obviously I have not upgraded them far enough. I would like to upgrade them more and slap in a Focusing Strike mod, so that way I get my Barricade back whenever I cause damage with my melee attack. Then I'm also using Font of Might, very important, to stack on top of our exotic of choice, as well as Radiant. Onto our chest piece, I have a Resilience mod, sorry. In this slot, I plan to add the Armor of the Dying Star from the artifact. I do not have it upgraded yet, so that's going to come soon. Solar resistance here for now. I will change this out for sniper damage resistance once I get the Armor of the Dying Star in here. And we have Melee Wellmaker, another extremely important mod because our Solar Hammer is going to be giving us elemental wells, as well as there was a new change today in the patch for Titans. Uncharged melee attacks will now apply Scorch to enemies. So uncharged melee attacks can also spawn elemental wells. I don't know if you guys knew that, but I just found this out. It's pretty cool. And onto our legs, which is our exotic of choice, the Path of the Burning Steps. I have a Discipline mod, Recuperation here for the health on the Orb of Power, and Innervation for more grenade cooldown on the Orbs of Power, as well as Well of Life. This is very important for our survivability. Picking up our solar elemental wells will increase our regeneration for a short period of time. And Path of the Burning Steps has the Firewalker talent, which is solar final blows periodically grant you an escalating bonus to weapon damage. You're harder to slow or freeze with stasis, and when you break out, you take no damage and create a burst of solar energy around yourself. So the solar final blows that we make with our hammer, our explosive personality, anything that has to do with solar, if we kill something with it, it's going to give us a stacking bonus to weapon damage. I think the max stack is ×4, which is 30% or 35%. This also stacks on top of Font of Might, which is 25%, and that stacks on top of Radiant, which is another 25%. So basically, with everything stacked up, we'll be doing about 80 to 85% weapon damage, which is pretty insane, and it does not just count towards solar weapons, it counts towards weapons with any element. So that's pretty cool. And onto our class item, we have a small discipline mod here, as well as Classy Restoration, super important. So when we activate our Barricade, we get Restoration ×2, and Restoration ×2 is another thing that's just going to make it so that we do not die. We also have Bountiful Wells here, just to double up on the elemental wells that we spawn, meaning more cooldowns, more uptime on Font of Might, etc. All right, abilities, aspects, and fragments. Here we go. So we got our regular tower barricade. In PvP, you can use rally barricade if you'd like, but I use towering. I have catapult lift on. Throwing hammer for our melee. You can use hammer strike, but I like throwing hammer. It stacks up roaring flames and our path of burning steps really quickly, so throwing hammer is my go-to. Solar grenade, you can use whatever grenade you'd like, but I'm using solar. You can even throw healing grenade on there for the extra survivability if you want. For aspect, we are using roar flames. Final blows with solar abilities or ignitions increase the damage of your solar abilities, stacking 3 times. I think the maximum stack gives you about 120% ability damage, which is quite insane. Our second aspect is Consecration. While sliding, activate your charged melee ability to launch a wave of solar energy forward, damaging and scorching targets in front of you as you leap into the air. While airborne, activate your charged melee again to slam to the ground and create a larger second wave of damaging solar energy. If the wave hits a scorched target, they do ignite. Moving on to our fragments, we have Ember of Searing. Defeating scorched targets grants melee energy. Really nice for getting our melee back super quickly once we use the Consecration. We have Ember of Wonder. Rapidly defeating multiple targets with solar ignition generates an orb of power. This is going to help because our Consecration ignites targets that we scorch, and they will instantly be defeated and give us orbs. We have Ember of Torches here. Powered melee attacks against combatants make you and nearby allies radiant. Another reason why I choose the throwing hammer is because we can spam these melee attacks and it pretty much insta-kills everything. So we'll have radiant up all the time and our allies will as well. Then we have Ember of Singeing. Our class ability recharges faster when we scorch targets. The only reason I have this on right now is because, as I said before, my arms are not leveled up high enough to get the melee damage mod in there to recharge our class ability. Otherwise, I would replace this with Ember of Char. That way our solar ignitions will spread Scorch to all affected targets around. You can also switch it out with Ember of Empyrean for solar weapon or ability Final Blows, extending the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you. And that's the premise of the build. It's definitely not Lorelei Splendor OP, but it is something different and super, super fun to use. And you can pack some really crazy damage with your heavy, your solar heavy, once all the buffs stack up. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this build. Comment down below what you would change on it. If you would change anything, I appreciate y'all. Have a great day.